Okay guys, here we are. It is time to review the Wilson Audio Alexandria XLF. I did it with the Magical M6. It is only fair that I do it with the Wilson XLF. Let me just first start by saying this is one huge speaker. This has been a Herculean effort. So I'm going to go over the pros. This video is primarily focused on the pros of this speaker. There will be another video that will follow, which I will go over the cons of owning this speaker. So let me get right into it. I'm going to give you 5 pros of living with this speaker. Number 1, no surprise guys, the flexibility of this speaker. Guys, there are so many adjustments on here. I'm going to show you right now. What you're going to see right now is behind the speaker. All the adjustments on the back of the speaker for you to adjust the mid-range, the high frequency, and in addition to that, of course, I'm going to show you now the port system. The front, you can see here, this is the front port, and then I'm going to show you the rear port. This is a very important key element of the Wilson Audio XLF. The adjustability, depending on the room that you have, depending on the rear wall, your distance to the rear wall, the front wall, it allows you to have the right impact with regards to the bass of the speaker. I do not know of any other speaker that allows you to have this flexibility outside of the Wilson Audio line, which allows you to accommodate the speaker better in the room, to make sure you have better interactions with the walls around the speaker, which I found very useful. In my case, I actually noticed that the front firing configuration gave me more bass, but it also killed the nuance in the separation, the last minute ounce of information that came either from the right channel or the left channel was basically extinguished. When I did the rear port configuration, there was less bass in my room. However, more little minute things began to pop up. I started to notice the imaging be a lot more detailed. There was just a lot more going on side to side when I did that. Okay, so the flexibility of the speaker is one of the greatest attributes. 100%. I love this about this particular model. Number 2, and that is the efficiency of the speaker. This speaker has an efficiency of approximately 93 decibels. I believe Stereophile reviewed it and they gave it 92, I believe it's what they measured it at, which is still highly efficient. This speaker is easily driven by a lot of amplifiers out there. You do not need thousands upon thousands of watts, okay, to make this speaker play loud. It really comes to life rather quick, and one of the greatest things about that efficiency is the fact that when you're playing the speaker at low volume, you hear all this information. You hear all this, just all these things that are happening, and you're not even playing the speaker loudly. Okay, most speakers out there, I have noticed, need a lot of volume to get going. These really do not. These begin to immediately shine with a couple of clicks on the volume, and it's one of the greatest things that I remember about the speaker. I don't think I have owned a speaker this efficient, and I think that that particular aspect is something that I'm really going to miss about the XLF. Number 3, this is a very important characteristic of Wilson Audio in general. This speaker has a tremendous amount of dynamics, explosiveness. It just goes from 0 to 100 miles an hour really quick. It really has the ability to give you the contrasts and the ups and downs of the presentation. You go from being over here very, very mellow, right, and then the song completely explodes into something else, and it just does that, bam, it just jumps. You can hear, you can feel the sheer energy, the presence of the music changing. I remember it specifically playing some of those songs that I have on that title playlist, which I share with you guys. Some particular songs, when I started to play, I would hear just like a bullet go off. It would just be loud, and just you can hear the contrast when the song doesn't have the dynamics, when the song is just a little more control and it doesn't have a lot of ups and downs in terms of the volume levels. This here picked up everything on every single song. This speaker actually surprised me in many ways. It showcased the ability to just simply give this chest pounding presentation, just that thrust, the thrust that the speaker had. That's really one of the greatest characteristics about this speaker. Number 4, resolution. One of the most resolving speakers I have ever owned. A lot of information, articulation, things that you thought were not there in the music are easily picked up by these speakers. And it could also be the size. I mean, check out the drivers. I mean, 15, 13, and these are dual mid-range drivers. You got the rear mounted tweeter over here, front firing tweeter. I mean, there is a lot happening here, and so this speaker does not skip any minute nuance. It really throws everything that's in the music at you. You hear things that I promise you guys have not heard in your own homes. It's really like a monitor. It's such a massive speaker, right? But sometimes it can be this tiny in terms of the presentation. It can turn into something this small, very chameleon-like. And I really have been extremely in love with that particular aspect. When I brought this speaker into my room, I was extremely nervous because I thought, you know what, the speaker is extremely big. Before I buy a speaker, by the way, what I do is I look at the measurements, the dimensions of the speaker, and I literally come out and start more or less measuring what that speaker would look like in my room. And I was extremely nervous when I brought this speaker here because of how big it is. It's really massive, guys. I mean, I am 6'1.5", and I mean 270 pounds, and I mean, it's huge. I mean, this thing is going to completely overpower everything else you have in the room. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, the resolution just never skips a beat. Never failed to amaze me. Never really. It just I just couldn't believe, right, how the speaker becomes a microscope, for lack of a better word. It really is a microscope. Things that I remember the Magical M6 was also doing, by the way. The ability to just extract everything that's in the music. Last but not least, number 5, bass. The bass of this speaker remains the best bass that I have heard in my room from any Wilson Audio speaker. Yes, guys, it is better than the Alex's. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be very transparent about the Alex. The Alex, to me, in my room, being a smaller speaker, with regards to bass, never gave me the amount of bass that this gave me, and never gave me the amount of bass that the Alexia 2 gave me. Now, could be maybe my room, I really do not know. When I bought this, part of the reason why I also brought it is because I wanted to hear bass from a larger Wilson Audio speaker. I already knew what the Alexia 2 did, I already knew what the Alexia 1 did, and the Sasha DAW. And I just was trying to push the boundaries, okay? And this is the reason why I brought this here. Just the reality of what Wilson can do with larger drivers. To me, guys, there is no better speaker from Wilson Audio, at least that I have owned, than the XLF when it comes to the sheer weight of the low registers, when it comes to the impact, when it comes to just the fullness, the overall presentation. Okay, many of you guys have huge rooms, tall ceilings, gigantic rooms, okay, and you're trying to fill your space with sound, and you have been trying to look for a speaker day in, day out. You've been trying to simply have enough sound dispersion, okay, so that you can sit anywhere in the room and feel the presentation. To me, this is a perfect example of such speaker. This speaker is designed for a larger room than mine. This speaker, for me, it feels as if it is just a lion in the room that you can't just keep trapped in this. It needs space to walk around. It needs to be out in the woods. It needs to just breathe. And in my opinion, if you have the room for this monster, for this speaker, you should not be hesitant to buy this. I have not heard a Wilson Audio speaker with a bigger picture of, as far as a presentation is concerned, than the XLF. The Alex didn't give that to me, and as sure as hell the Alexia did not give that to me, or the DAW. Okay, so although it is a speaker that came out in 2012, and to my understanding the last speaker that I believe Dave Wilson produced, either this one or the Alexia one, I can't remember, to me it really leaves on a huge footprint in the audio industry. Before he passed, to me it's a very special component because it came from the man that I think really deserves all the accolades and deserves all the credit in the world for the great industry, for the great speaker brand that he has created, that many of us have enjoyed. I know Wilson Audio isn't really everyone's cup of tea, but I want to say it definitely has always been in my heart. It's always been a brand that I really cherish and I really appreciate. And part of the reason for the departure of the speaker is because, as I said on my earlier video, I need to learn a few more things. I need to learn new components, new speakers, being no different from this conversation, okay? No other reason. The reality is, I think I have done my time with the line for the time being, unless of course in a year or two they have different models, which I'm sure they will, and at that point I can circle back around and figure out what they're doing. Okay, but for now I think it's great for me. It's been a great experience. It's been just a blessing to be able to put a product like this, of this magnitude, of this caliber in my room. Being the most expensive speaker that I've ever owned, with an MSRP of $200,000, it definitely feels like $200,000. If you ever, I've never seen it in person until I brought it home. If you have never had the opportunity to see it, guys, you have definitely missed out on one of the greatest loudspeakers ever manufactured, in my opinion. And I've seen a lot of them. I haven't owned all of them, but I've seen a lot of different speaker brands, and this has always been impressive to me anyway. So this left a long-lasting impression with me. It really makes me feel a little emotional, I should say, a little sad, because there aren't many of these speakers. There are not many of these lingering around. You're not going to find 3,000 pairs of this speaker the way you would find, I don't know, a Sasha or, you know, an Alexia. You're not going to find this speaker in those quantities, and so I think it makes it that much more special. So those of you who have the Wilson Audio XLF, guys, you got one hell of a loudspeaker. If you told me you'll never change it, I totally get it, man. I totally get it. I understand it fully, 100%. You're not doing what I'm doing, and if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, I probably would continue with this speaker going forward. But I gotta keep pushing forward, and you guys know that. Anyway, these were the pros of the speaker. But as you know, every product has cons, and this is no different. So I'm going to get started with the cons of owning the Wilson Audio XLF.